Welcome! Today we're going to talk about this awesome 2022 Tesla Model Y long-range all-wheel drive with the acceleration boost upgrade. One amazing, fully battery electric crossover SUV. And it's no wonder, after doing a quick overview, all the cool features, tech, the way it drives, so much cool stuff, it's no wonder why now the Model Y looks like for 2023 it's going to be the best-selling vehicle in the world. Not best-selling EV, but best-selling vehicle, unseating the Toyota Corolla, which says a lot about this amazing product. And I'm sure, you know, every day you see more and more of these on the road. And maybe you're kind of getting curious. Maybe I want to try out a Tesla. I want to try out a Tesla Model Y, see what all the fuss is about. Well, you know, it's not hype. These things are pretty amazing. I have a Tesla myself. I have a Model 3, this is basically a crossover version of the Model 3. And so much cool stuff to talk about. So let's begin. So this one is a 2022 long-range all-wheel drive. They have standard range Model Ys. This is a long range, so this has a big battery pack. Fully charged range is a little over 300 miles. But, you know, range can sometimes be deceiving when you see a fully charged EPA range. Because the thing is, with Teslas and pretty much any battery electric vehicle that have lithium-ion batteries, things are different with LFP batteries. Lithium-ion batteries only like to be charged to 80% for daily use. So if you have a fully charged range of over 320 miles, obviously charging it to 80% is not going to be 320 miles. And there's other things that can affect range, you know, outside temperature, if you're driving on the highway, if you're driving around town. EVs actually tend to be more efficient in around the town driving versus on the highway going 70, 80 miles an hour, where gas cars seem to be more efficient. But for most of us, we do around the town driving, not highway driving. So we can take advantage of the efficiency of EVs in that manner. So yes, you know, typically with all stars aligned, this could potentially have a range of 320 miles. But realistically, in the real world, you know, your everyday range is probably going to be more like 200, 250 miles for your daily range. So if you drive, I guess, more than, 150, 200 miles a day, you might have to look at maybe fast charging, or, hopefully you have charging at your destination. Like if a lot of people have charging infrastructure set up at their, parking garages where they park, or a lot of businesses are starting to install EV chargers as a perk for employees. So that might be the case. But for most people's daily drive is like 30, 40 miles, including me. So no, it'll probably be few and far between where you're going to have to worry about, fast charging unless you're on a road trip. But the thing is it's okay to charge it to 100% every once in a while for those long road trips. But for daily use, just for the happy healthiness and longevity of your lithium-ion battery, Tesla recommends charging it to 80%. And there are also certain things that can affect your range when it's parked. So this has a Sentry mode, which is pretty cool. It's basically a theft monitoring system. So this has a flash drive. So it will record on any movement around the vehicle. If someone breaks into the vehicle or anything like that, it'll record it. And it also works as a dash cam. So when you're driving, you have a 360 camera while you're driving. It can be very useful. Here's some videos. There's one weirdo in our parking lot that I had to kick out, so I drove up in my Tesla knowing he'd be recorded. And here's another video of me driving along I-5, and I saw this vehicle full of trash bags, and they're just dumping all over the highway. So I got that on camera. So these dash cams can be very helpful, but obviously Sentry mode and things like that, while the vehicle's parked, it's going to use range. So just when the Tesla is sitting in a parking lot, not being driven, it's going to use up electricity for things like the Sentry mode and also for thermal management of the battery. The Tesla doesn't want the battery to get too cold or too hot, because that could be bad for the battery, and that could also reduce the efficiency. When you start driving and the battery is really, really cold, it doesn't make it as efficient. But there are things that you can do. You can do planned departures. So if you leave your house at a certain time, you can just get on your Tesla app and do a planned departure, so your vehicle will know, okay, you're going to leave at 6 a.m., so I'm going to start warming up the battery, put the climate control on, the heated seats, so that your car is ready to go. The battery's warmed up, so it's most efficient when you're ready to leave. So yeah, Tesla, does have some great features to make, your vehicle more efficient. And then you have the amazing supercharging network, which is really the ace in the hole for Tesla. You look at all these superchargers, and it's really amazing. One time I pulled into a supercharger with about 20 miles of range left. I didn't need a full charge to make it home. I just didn't want to, push it to the limit. It's not good to the battery to go to zero. So I'm like, oh, I'll just charge for 5 minutes and then I'll head home. But going from just in 5 minutes, my Tesla charged from 20 miles to 88 miles of range, you know. So you don't have to charge for the full 20 minutes. I could have stayed at the charger and had a full charge in about 20 minutes. So these Tesla superchargers are amazing, and it's really one of the aces in the hole of owning a Tesla. So you have this amazing screen. The majority of the functionality is in the screen. It's infinitely configurable. Tesla's always updating it, adding features, making it better, improving the autopilot. Autopilot's traffic aware cruise control, which allows the vehicle to brake and accelerate in its own lane. This is a dual motor, so it has a motor in the front, making it in the back, a motor in the front, and a motor in the back, making it all-wheel drive, also making it really quick. But on top of that, this has the acceleration boost upgrade. It's a $2,000 in-app purchase. You get a software update, and it unleashes more power. Basically, the electric motors and the battery are pretty much identical to what you get in the Tesla Model Y Performance. It's just the software in the Tesla Model Y Performance that gives it like the extra power. Obviously, the Tesla Model Y Performance was going to have a different suspension, wheel and tire packages, but as far as acceleration goes, the battery and drive units in the long range Model Y and Performance, as far as I know, are almost identical. So you can get the software update, and it pretty much adds 100 horsepower. So you go 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds. This thing is an absolute riot. We'll take it for a spin around the block. This thing is an absolute riot to drive. Even though it's a crossover SUV, you're going to put a lot of purpose-built sports cars to shame of how fast this thing accelerates. It's absolutely ridiculous. So crossover SUVs are pretty much one of the most popular products right now, at least in North America. We North Americans buy more crossover SUV vehicles now than anything. Coupes and sedans are kind of falling by the wayside. You have this front extra space here. Also a safety feature, absorbing crash energy. The Model Y is one of the safest vehicles on the road. Nice premium white on white, so you have the white interior, premium white interior, really nice color combination white on white. They also started rolling out the new double pane glass on the Model Ys. I think we started seeing that in 2021, 2022, so there's a sound deadening material in between, which makes it a lot quieter. Lots of space too in the rear seats, lots of headroom, and then you have this huge glass roof panel, allow lots of natural light inside. Uh-oh, looks like we have an extra part here. Don't know what that's for, we'll have to figure that out. Lots of extra cargo space under here as well. Normally it'd be a gas tank or an exhaust system, but since this is an EV, you're not hampered by all those limitations. You can fold down the seats. There's actually a camp mode too, so you can fold down the seats and camp in this thing. Let's get behind the wheel and take it for a spin. All right, let's take this Model Y out for a little spin with the acceleration boost upgrade. And some people ridicule the Tesla for all the functionality being tied to the screen, but when you have hard buttons, those hard buttons are there forever. Where when you have a screen like this, it's infinitely reconfigurable. You can constantly update things. One cool update was a blind spot camera. One day you get an update, and when you put the turn signals on, now you have a blind spot camera. And Tesla really, since they're a vertically integrated company and they make most of their components in-house, they can roll out these updates a lot faster. The problem with a lot of other manufacturers is that they rely on third-party parts manufacturers, parts distributors to make parts. So if they need to do a update, maybe they have to write new firmware for a certain component. Well, they have to get legal permission to do a firmware update with that parts distributor, and that just makes it more complicated. Where it can take months. There's people who buy non-Tesla EVs that have been waiting over a year for a badly needed software update, where Tesla seems like they're rolling out updates every month, adding features and improving safety features as well, like the Autopilot. Tesla gathers data on their whole fleet of vehicles, so there's about 5 million vehicles, 5 million Teslas on the road that are gathering data every day for Tesla. And Tesla's respecting the privacy, but they're using that data to make the car safer, to improve the Autopilot, to see crash statistics and stuff like that. There's no one who has as much data as Tesla does. It's mind-boggling. And statistics prove it. When you're operating on Autopilot, it makes it a lot. A Tesla operating on Autopilot averages like 1 accident every 4 million miles driven, or something like that, 3 or 4 million miles. And the other thing too is Tesla has a lot of voice commands. They have like 140 different voice commands. So if you want to put the windshield wipers on, if you want to put the heated seats on, You want to change the climate control. You don't have to be distracted and take your eyes off the road and mess with this screen. You can do voice commands like make it cooler. Every time I say make it cooler, it'll lower the temperature by 3 degrees. Make it cooler. You can also make it warmer. Wipers on 1. Wipers off. You know, I can go on and on. The rear defroster. Yeah, things like that. So you don't even have to take your eyes off the road. You can just do voice commands and you know, change a lot of settings in the vehicle, which I don't know of any other vehicles where you can do stuff like that with. It's pretty amazing. The engineering and, you know, coding and stuff that Tesla does to their user interface and all their features and software, it really does show you that Tesla is not just an auto company, they're a tech company. There's a lot of technology in this vehicle. It's basically a robot or a rolling computer on wheels. It's far different than an internal combustion engine vehicle. It's completely different, and that's why we're finding that people who make regular gas cars, that's not translating into making great great EVs. That's why Tesla sells far more EVs than anyone else. All right, we got a opening in the traffic. Oh, it's gonna open it up here, but we got a broken down vehicle, so I'm gonna slow down a little bit, and then I'm gonna just mash on the throttle and see how this thing accelerates. It's like your own personal slot car. It's amazing, the level of acceleration, and there's no hesitation. Like when you have a gas car and you mash on the throttle, there's a hesitation while the car thinks about what gear to put it in, you know, where to rev the engine. Here, you just hit it and it's instantaneous throttle response. All right, let's talk about the autopilot. So I put the stock down twice. That activates autopilot. It's telling me pay attention. You have that blue steering wheel there. That means autopilot's engaged. So autopilot is traffic aware cruise control, which allows the vehicle to brake and accelerate in its own lane. There are limitations. It's not full self-driving. It's not enhanced autopilot. So it's not going to stop for red lights. It's not going to stop for stop signs. You're going to have to disengage it and do it yourself. But just as long as there's vehicles stopping in front of me, it's going to stop for traffic. So you can get a lot of mileage out of the autopilot and stop and go traffic and things like that. We're going to change lanes over here. So autopilot works fantastic on the highway. If you drive on the highway for any length of time, you know, you have a stop and go. If you have a stop and go commute every day, like in the Seattle, or you're just in a horrible hour-and-a-half stop and go traffic, you have to have autopilot. It's going to make your life so much easier. It's going to spoil you. I'm spoiled by it. Like if I have to run errands for the dealership, I'm going to always take a vehicle of autopilot, especially if I have to drive on the highway or any length of time, or I'll just take my own Tesla. And the nice thing about autopilot is it doesn't just work on the highway, it actually works on roads like this. You do need to be extra diligent and pay attention. That's the key, is paying attention, because the autopilot's not going to see everything. There might be instances where it gets confused, so you have to be there to intervene and oversee things. But just as long as you pay attention, it can make your life a lot easier, and it does a pretty good job staying in these lanes here. You know, there's a lot of other ADAS systems from other manufacturers that would not be able to stay in the lane in a situation like that. And this is not full self-driving. It's just the regular autopilot. But if there's not clear lines in the road or things like that, it can get confused and it might drift in the other lane. So those are situations like that where you kind of really need to pay attention. But just being in supervisor mode and having the car take the workload of driving off you makes all the difference in the world. To disengage the autopilot, you can just put the stock up or put your foot in the brake. And then another thing is the handling. With the weight of the batteries, this thing is just like sticking to the ground like an anchor. Well, that sums up our little drive and overview of this 2022 Tesla Model Y long range with acceleration boost upgrade. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you soon and have a wonderful day.